Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 5, text number 21. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhaya Sparsheshva Shaktatma. Bhaya Sparsheshva Shaktatma. Vindatyatmani Yatsukam. Vindatyatmani Yatsukam. Sa Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. Sa Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. Sukam Akshayam Ashnute. Sukam Ashayam Ashnute. Maya Sparsheshva Shaktatma. Vindatyatmani Yatsukam. Sa Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. Sukam Akshayam Ashnute. Maya Sparsheshva Shaktma. Vindatyatmani Yatsukam. Sa Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. Sukam Akshayam Ashnute. Maya Sparsheshva Yuktatma. Maya Sparsheshva Yuktatma. Vindatyatmani Yatsukam. Sabroma Yoga Yuktatma. Sukam Akshayam Ashnute. Bhaya Sparsheshva Shaktatma. Vindatyatmani Yatsukam. Sabrama Yoga Yuktatma. Sukam Akshayam Ashnute. Maya Sparsheshva Vindatyatmani Yatsukam. Sabrama Yoga Yuktatma. Sukam Akshayam Ashnute. Maya Sparsheshva Shaktatma. Maya Sparsheshu, an external sense pleasure. Ashakta Atma, one who is not attached. Vindati, enjoys. Atmani, in the self. Yat, that which. Sukam, happiness. Saha, he. Brahma Yoga, by concentration in the Brahman. Yukta Atma, self-connected. Sukam, happiness. Akshayam, unlimited. Ashnute, enjoys. Such a liberated person is not attached to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasures within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. Purport: Sri Jamunacharya A great devotee in Krishna consciousness said, Yad advahi mama cheta Krishna paradada vinde navanavarasa dhaman yudyatam rantam asit tad avidhi bhatanari sangame smaryamane bhavati mukha vikaraha shushtu nishtvanam cha. Since I've been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought and my lips curl with distaste. A person in Brahma Yoga or Krishna consciousness is so absorbed in the loving service of the Lord that he loses his taste for material sense pleasure altogether. The highest pleasure in terms of matter is sex pleasure. The whole world is moving under its spell, and a materialistic cannot work at all without the motivation. But a person engaged in Krishna consciousness can work with greater vigor without sex pleasure, which he avoids. That is the test in spiritual realization. Spiritual realization and sex pleasure go ill together. A Krishna conscious person is not attracted to any kind of sense pleasure due to his being a liberated soul. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So, Bhaya Svasheshu. This means external sense pleasure. Everyone is looking to satisfy the senses. Everyone is looking to smell something nice, to taste something nice with the tongue, to see something nice, to touch, to feel something nice. This is called sense pleasure. And this people work for. They're working hard. Night, they're sleeping. And daytime, they're working hard to earn money. Why? So they can enjoy sense pleasure. This is not supposed to be the business of a human being. A human being has a higher purpose than simply sense gratification. Sense gratification has a beginning and an end. One can enjoy sense gratification, but not unlimitedly. There's a limit. The living beings that are simply interested in sense gratification, they're known as animals. Now we got four-legged animals and we have two-legged animals. The four-legged animals are the beasts of burden, like the camels or the asses. Four-legged animals. Dogs, cats, four-legged. But what is a two-legged animal? Means someone who's not interested in spiritual life, someone who's only interested in sense gratification, they're known as Dvipada Pashu. Two-legged animals. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that we should surrender unto Him. We should think of Him. Why? So that we can fulfill the purpose of this human form of life. Human life is not meant to be lived like the animals, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Human life is meant for more than this. Human life is meant for Atma Shakshakar, Atma Tattva, understanding the self, understanding who we really are. People are confused about who they are. Mostly people think that they are the body. I'm Indian, I'm American. Right? So many different births you can have. You can be born in Lower Slobovia. But just because we're born in India or America or anywhere else, that doesn't mean we're Indian. Doesn't mean we're American. That is the body. Someone in this room has an orange shirt. Someone in this room has a red shirt. Someone in the room has a yellow shirt. But just because you're wearing a yellow shirt, does that mean you are a yellow shirt? No. You're wearing a yellow shirt, but that doesn't make you yellow shirt or orange shirt or red shirt. It's what you're wearing, is it not? Simple thing, but yet no one understands. For this identification, I am Russian, I am Ukrainian, so many people are dead. It's the body. It's the outer garment. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita clearly, just as the clothes become old and useless, then you get new clothes. In the same way, when the body becomes old and useless, you get a new body. Understand? So if we get a new body, that means we're not the old body. And we're not the new body. We're not the body at all. Dehi nosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam chara tata dahantara paptir diras tatra namuyati. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. First you get a baby body, then you get a child body, then you get a young person's body, then you get a middle-aged person's body, then you get an old body. So just in this life, the body is changing. At death, you get a new body. You get a new body at death. So it's wrong, it's improper to think that I'm the body when we're the soul, the eternal soul. But people are thinking, ihani ihani bhutani. They see every day people are dying. Right? Every day. Every day people are going to Yamaraj. But we think, I'm not going to die. Kim ascharya matas padam. This is the most amazing thing. No one knows when they will die. No one knows. You can step out here and be hit by a truck. Finished. Katam. So if we don't use this form of life, this human form of life, to understand, then we're wasting the human form of life, to understand my relationship with God. Now this verse, this particular verse, verse number 21, it's already explaining who is already liberated. Somebody that's already liberated. What's the term for liberation? Ashakta Atma. Ashakta Atma. Ashakta, somebody who's not attached. Generally, we're very attached to this world. Very attached. Right? So Ashakta Atman means the person who's not attached. What does it mean to be not attached? So it means that we don't identify with the things that we come in contact with. Right? We don't identify with being Gujarati, Marathi. These are the wrong attachments. We should identify. So what should we identify with? You say I shouldn't identify with being Marathi, Gujarati, Marwari, Sindhi. What should I identify with? One should identify that I am Krishna Das. Krishna Das. What does that mean? Servant of Krishna. Okay? In this material world, everyone is serving someone or something. We're serving. The children go to the school, they're serving the teachers. The children are serving the parents. The man goes to work and serves the boss. The wife cooks for all the family. She's serving the family, right? Everyone is serving someone. That is our nature. We have to render service. But as long as we're rendering service to something or someone in the material world, that is temporary. Just like the word dharma. Dharma, people think the word dharma, it means a religion, but it's more than that. Dharma means the nature of a thing. It's swabhavik. Just like water. The nature of water is it's wet. The nature of mirchi is tika. If the mirchi is not tika, if the water's not wet, then it's not water, it's not mirchi. In the same way, the nature of the living entity is to serve. We have to render some service. So in the material world, there's so many services that we render. But these are not eternal. They're not Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma is when we reestablish our relationship with the Supreme Lord through service. So one can ask, how do I serve the Supreme? What do I do to serve the Supreme? Well, it's very simple. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that you can offer me a little fruit, a little water, flower, a leaf, I will accept. Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakti prayachati. You offer with devotion. So it's not very complicated to serve God. Anybody can get some water. Anybody can get a few tulsi leaves and some fruit and a flower and offer it to God. This is the service to God. It's not complicated. It's not like you have to be a very rich person to serve God. No. Anyone can serve God. And another way you can render service to God, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha drida brataha. By kirtan, by chanting the holy name of God, one can render service to God. It's a very powerful way to render service to God. Just like you're in the house and somebody calls your name, what that person is thinking about you, just by calling your name, you know. Let's say it's your mother, and the person's name is Ramesh, and Ramesh is supposed to be going to school, but he's late, and his mother says, Ramesh. Now Ramesh immediately knows, Are, mera maa mera piche ho gaya. Why? Because he's late for school. She didn't say anything, only she said Ramesh, but he knows everything, isn't it? Same way, when we chant the holy name of God, God knows how we're feeling about Him by the way we chant. So in order to have feeling, to chant the holy name with feeling, we need to practice. We need to practice. So therefore, every day, the devotees chant on the Japa Mala, they practice chanting the holy name, because the holy name is non-different from God. God and His name are non-different. In the material world, there's a difference between the name and the object. If I say water, 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 I won't quench my thirst. I need water. But in the spiritual world, it's different. The name and the object, same thing, no difference. God and God's name are one. When you chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Krishna is dancing on your tongue. So, there needs to be a quality of this chanting. And therefore, by regular practice, by avoiding certain activities, then one's chanting can become purified. So that when you chant the name of Krishna, Krishna knows, oh yeah, this is my devotee. That he will know, this is my devotee. So what are those things that we're supposed to practice? Well, first of all, we have to chant. We should chant on a regular basis. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. And there's certain things that we should avoid. What should we avoid? We should avoid gambling. We should avoid intoxication. We should avoid meat eating. And we should avoid illicit sex life. If we can avoid these things, then very quickly our chanting will become pleasing to Krishna. Already he's pleased, but he can become more pleased. And we'll become more pleased. When Krishna becomes pleased, we become pleased. And when Krishna becomes pleased, then we become more pleased. Krishna is in every one of our hearts. He's in our hearts. He's not far away, right? Of course, at the same time, Krishna is in Vaikuntha. He's in the spiritual world. But at the same time, He's in our heart. He's in my heart, He's in your heart, He's in everyone's heart. But how much do we think of Krishna? He is with us all the time. You don't think about your breathing, but every day you're breathing. How many times in a day you're taking a breath? How many times? Shwas din mein kitna aate hain? Bahut. It doesn't come to your mind, oh, I have to breathe. No, automatically it's happening. How does that happen? by the arrangement of God, Paramatma. Right? It's His arrangement, not your arrangement. You're not breathing by your power. If your time is up, if your time is over, no matter what you do, the breathing will stop. When we're born, we have so many breaths according to our karma, what we did in our last life. So many breaths. Let's say you have 1 million breaths. When that 1 million breaths is over, it doesn't matter which doctor you go to. It doesn't matter if it's Hinduja Hospital or Ambani Hospital or any hospital you can go. It's over. It's curtains. Khatam. So, why we should waste our time? Why we should waste our time? It's fixed. We don't have so much time. Krishna says, Chanakya Pandit says, time is very valuable. How valuable is time? If 1 minute is gone, can you get that 1 minute back? Even if you are ready to pay crores of rupees, still that minute is gone, you can't get it back. So how valuable is time? And in this short time that we have in this life, if we use it for chanting and serving God, then we can, at the end of this life, live eternally in the spiritual world. Why do we want to go to the spiritual world? Why? Because people are, the spirit souls in the spiritual world are enjoying with Krishna. Right? Krishna in the spiritual world, he has his friends, he has his mother and father, he has his girlfriends, the gopis. So it's not like in the spiritual world there's no enjoyment. Whatever relationship you have here, you can be somebody's friend, you can be somebody's parent, you can be somebody's servant, you can be somebody's lover. So those relationships are there in the spiritual world also. But here they're temporary. Here they're filled with a lot of problems. We read in the newspaper, boy and girl come together, boyfriend, girlfriend, right? And they're in love, and 2 months later they hate each other. It happens, right? Sometimes you read in the paper, the boy kills the girl or the girl kills the boy, but they were lovers. What happened? Because in the material world, it's not really love. What is it? It's called, it starts with an L, just like love, but it is lust. It's based on this same thing. What does it say here? Bhaya sparsheshu. External sense gratification. Based on that, this attraction. Man for woman, woman for man. Right? But that doesn't last. And if it's based only on that, then there's a big problem later on. So sense gratification, relationships that are based on sense gratification, they always run into trouble. Better, that relationship should be based on service to Krishna. The man is the servant of Krishna. The woman is the servant of Krishna. And they cooperate together in the service of Krishna. Then that can last. That can last. When I first came to India, in 1974. It's a long time ago, right? In those days, there were hardly divorces. Very few divorces. Nowadays, happens a lot. I don't know what the percentage is. In America, it's 60% of the marriage is divorce. You know, they get married so many times, they say the third time is the charm. The third marriage is the one that'll work. Okay? It's coming to India, slowly. Slowly it's coming. Once I went to one young man's house for kirtan. We were doing kirtan. And all of a sudden the police came. And I asked that young man, I said, why are the police coming here? Oh, my wife and I are having a divorce. She sent the police on me. This is the nature of the age we live in, Kali Yuga, right? Our idea is to enjoy. Our idea is to become happy. I'm going to get married and I'm going to be happy, but something else happens. Because it's not based on relationship to Krishna, right? Real happiness comes with service to God, not service to our senses. If you want to serve your senses, what's going to happen? You're going to get frustrated and you're going to suffer. If you want to serve Krishna, if you try to serve Krishna, then you can become blissful. Anandam buddhivardhanam, an ocean of happiness. That's what Krishna is saying here. A person who's liberated, they're not worried about sense gratification. They're not attached to some material conception of life. Right? It's describing. It's not some vague thing, Bhagavad Gita. And it doesn't work that, well, I think Bhagavad Gita means this. In my opinion, Bhagavad Gita means. What's the value of your opinion? You keep your opinion in your pocket. We want to know what is Krishna's opinion. What Krishna means. Not what you think he means. Who are you? You'll give your interpretation. No. It's very clear. Krishna's describing here how a liberated person thinks and feels. Why? So we can know who's a liberated person. It's not that somebody has one big, jetiya and dadi, and you think, sadhu. But he's smoking bidi, drinking chai. What kind of sadhu? He's not a liberated person. He's not liberated. Liberated person is asakta. Asakta atma. You can't be sakta atma and then be a sadhu. Right? So therefore, Krishna in these verses, up now, this 20, 18, 19, 20, he's describing the liberated person. So what is it? What is a liberated person so that we can know? One, he's not attached to external sense pleasure. He's not attached to anything material. Rather, he finds his enjoyment in the self. That's what it says, right? Vindati atmani sukham. He finds enjoyment in the self. What is enjoyment in the self? What is the self? The self is something different from the body, right? So how do you enjoy the soul? How do you get enjoyment from being a soul instead of the body? We know how the body enjoys. You can have something nice to eat or something nice to touch or see. But how does the soul enjoy? By rendering service to God. So how can you render service to God? What can you do? Well, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya recommends that wherever you go, whoever you meet, you tell them about Krishna. You can tell them about this verse, that a liberated person is not attached to anything material. A liberated person doesn't find their happiness in sense gratification. A liberated person finds their happiness in the self. This is the message of Krishna. If you take this message and you give that message to others, this is service to Krishna. In fact, Krishna says, anyone who delivers this message to others, there's no one more dear to me than he or she. Say that again. Whoever delivers this message of Krishna, that's here in Bhagavad Gita, no one is more dear to Krishna than that person. So therefore, it's important for every one of us to read Bhagavad Gita, to understand Bhagavad Gita as it is. Right? Yatha Rup, Jasyai Tashi, Tena Mula Rupe. As it is. Not as I think it is, not according to somebody's speculation, but what Krishna actually meant. And that comes through the Guru Parampara. Guru, all the way back to Krishna. If we try and understand in that way, like Krishna says, Evam Parampara Praptam, Emam Raja Saye Vidud, that I gave this knowledge and the kings understood it and it was passed down. If we do that, then very quickly we can become recognized by Krishna, and if we're recognized by Krishna, then this human form of life becomes successful. Are there any questions? You got the microphone?
Hare Krishna. Very nice class. You said that your chanting or feelings. So regarding myself, I think somehow I finish my rounds and try to hear. So what is our mood during the chanting? Mood, feelings, how to chant, mostly listening and somehow finish the rounds. This is my thinking. So what is my mood during chanting, feelings in respect of the chanting mantra?
So like I said, chanting should be done with full concentration. This verse says, with concentration on the Supreme, right? Concentration on the Supreme. So how it's called Brahma Yoga. Brahma Yoga means to fix yourself on the spiritual. Be fixed up. So the God and God's name is one and the same. By focusing on the name when we chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. Now the mind will take us so many places. The mind can go all the way, just like I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. It's 10,000 miles away. But I can be in St. Louis, Missouri in my mind in a few seconds, right? So the mind can drag us anywhere. But wherever the mind wanders, if we bring it back to the sound vibration of Krishna's holy name, then that is sadhana bhakti. That's practice, right? If we avoid certain activities, right, and then we focus on certain activities, we can make progress towards being like this verse, fixed in Brahma Yoga, free from attachments, finding our happiness in spiritual activities, not in sense gratification. All can happen by chanting and focusing on the chanting. Okay? Yes.
Hare Krishna. My sincere obeisances. I just wanted to ask, when it says that we are not body, we are soul, and if we think there is subtle body and gross body,
Yeah.
correct? The subtle body we call it soul, and gross body is it's the skin that we have, and that.
Bhumir,
Yeah.
Apo, Nalo,
Yeah.
Vayu.
So if we make our subtle body stronger by spiritual advancement, don't we want to make our gross body stronger as well?
Sure.
Because
sure.
we do yoga.
Just as you want to spiritualize your consciousness, which means spiritualize the mind, spiritualize the intelligence, in the same way we can spiritualize the body. Because the body is what? It's made up of cells.
5
And
elements.
each cell is living, right? The body is made up of a bunch of living cells. So we can spiritualize those individual living cells by eating prasadam, by, your consciousness affects the way your body works. If you're always in tension, stress, anxiety, you're going to be sick, right? Like many times the doctor will say, listen, you got a heart problem because you're taking too much tension, right? So the consciousness that we develop by our activities, by our thoughts, it affects our material existence also. So in the same way, if we try to focus on Krishna through chanting His holy name and purify our consciousness, that will also purify the body. So 2 ways. Through purifying the subtle body, means mind and intelligence, the gross body becomes purified. And also by eating food which is offered to Krishna, because the food turns into energy. And that energy spiritualizes the body when the food is offered to Krishna. Krishna says if you eat food that's offered to Him, prasadam, then if you don't eat food that's offered to Him, you're eating only sin, pap. And if you eat pap, what's going to happen? Your consciousness, your body, it'll all be in the pop consciousness, which means like the mode of ignorance, tamagun, rajagun, right? But by taking prasadam, food that's offered to Krishna, then the body also becomes enlightened. It becomes free from these lower modes of nature, passion and ignorance. So to answer your question, yes.
Yeah,
Everything
just one more thing. If we are giving just 1 hour,
Pardon?
if we are giving 1 hour
Yeah.
to our body,
Yeah.
just to make it more powerful, for strengthening purposes. Like when we are honoring prasadam, so it contains calories. At the same time, if we are actually getting lazy by eating so much of food, still we are chanting and we have so much of energy which is still consumed. Like we have it in our body. So can we just go for going for some workout for 1 hour, and during workout also we can chant, if we can.
Srila Prabhupada said that he prolonged his life by morning walks and some Ayurvedic medicine that he used to take, and that way he prolonged his life. So exercise is an important thing. We have to exercise, and at the same time exercise our spiritual life, right? Both are required. We have some material responsibilities that we have to do, and one of them is to keep the body fit, and the other is our spiritual activities also. Okay?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Yeah, sure, sorry.
You gave a very good example